All praises to the Most High. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. How y'all doing? Hey, we back with another one. We are back with another one. And hold on, let me turn this down. And it's gonna be a good one because me and the brother, we came up with a good idea for the people. We came up with a good idea, and what we're going to do is we're going to do something like a tour portion, but we're going to dig into Exodus 20 first. So this is the Sabbath Talk Covenant edition. And we go run it until we just can't run it no more, and then we just go move on to the next chapter. But Exodus 20 has to be expounded on, it has to be talked about, and we have to get into it. So without further ado, I'm gonna let my brother do what he do.
Well, Shabbat Shalom to everyone who's watching live by stream. Greatly appreciate you taking the time today on your Shabbat to, I did want to take a moment to thank the host, Aviyah, for giving us the opportunity, this platform, to be able to share Yahweh's words with his people and to help us understand what exactly is the Most High looking for from us as his people. Of course, I am not going to begin chapter number 20, which is where you will first find the covenant, which are the 10 words called the Eseret HaDavarim that the Most High is sharing with the children of Israel about what his expectations are. I think what's important for us to understand is why we should remember the covenant. We could talk about the covenant. A lot of people do, and they talk about, you should do this, don't do that, don't do this, and all this sort of thing. But they really don't understand the foundation of the covenant and why was the covenant given to the children of Israel. The covenant of the Most High is given in two places in the scriptures. Number one, the first time it's mentioned is in chapter number 20 of the book of Exodus. In the Hebrew is called Shemot, Shemot, Shemot. And the root word of that is shame, and shame means word or name, so, which is talking about one's character. And so what we find about the covenant of the Most High is found in the book that talks about the name or names, right? So we get the names of the children of Israel, we get the names of the tribes, we get, the names of Moshe, Aaron, and so, Pharaoh, we get all these different names. But more specifically, it's when the Most High introduces himself to the children of Israel, why they are in their exile, not their exile, their slavery, which tells us something about the Most High. He doesn't introduce himself to them outside of their slavery. He introduces himself to them while they're in their slavery, okay? So one of the things that we want to find out, or you probably say, well, where's that Akika? What is it and where is it? So I have up on your screen Deuteronomy chapter number 4, but let's just go back because we're going to go to a couple different places. Okay. So don't get bothered by it. So we're going to the book of Exodus. Okay. And we're going to look at where the Most High mentions his name to the children of Israel. The first place that you're going to find this is in the book of Exodus, and we're going to begin in chapter number 3. Chapter number 3. So, well, what does this have to do with the covenant? Well, the Most High's name is the first thing that's mentioned in the covenant. So you want to know why he's giving you the covenant, right? So Exodus chapter number 3, verse number 14, a lot of people like to go here and say that his name is I am, and that's not his name, okay? So I'm reading out of what they call the Complete Jewish Bible. I'm not Jewish. I don't subscribe to being Jewish, but I am telling you that this in particular, version or translation of the Bible is one that I have found. It's called the CJB, which is the Complete Jewish Bible, CJB. Those are the initials, and is written by an author called David Stern. And David Stern is Jewish. And what he did was he took the original Hebrew scriptures and he translated it, okay, into not transliterated, but translated it into English, right? So probably around, I say 98, it's 98% spot on when you compare it to the Hebrew language. Okay, you say, well, why is it 98 and not 100? Because some of his way that he translates some in particular sentences are a little bit off. He's using words that can be understood from an English perspective, from an English culture. And so we know that the English culture is not the same as the Hebrew culture. They're two different cultures, which means they have two different languages and they see things differently. They don't see it exactly the same. Okay. So here I want to begin to share with you something that the Most High said to Moshe, and it's found in chapter number 3, verse number 14 of the book of Exodus. It says, God, I'm just using that word right there, just for purposes of reading. Eye Asher Eye. I am will be what I am. So let me read, 13. Moshe said to God in verse number 13, look, when I appear before the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your ancestors sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What am I to tell them? Okay. Verse 14, God said to Moshe or Moses, Eye Asher Eye. I am will be what I am. I am will be. And added, here is what you are to say to the people of Israel. Eye, I am or I will be has sent me to you. Okay. And so before we go any further, people like to say that when he said, well, what is your name? They're thinking that his name is Eye Asher Eye. Okay. The word Eye Asher Eye is not his name. It is the verb. It is the action of his name. Okay. So here in Hebrew, the right here is an aleph, and the yay means to exist. So he's saying I, that's the I right there, I, okay, and yay means exist. That's why they have here I am or I will be, okay. And then Asher in Hebrew means who, not what, as they have here. It's who I am and I will be. Okay. So I am and I will be is not a name. It is not a name. It is the action of his name. To be something or will be, is something in the future, right? And it's an action. So he's saying the essence of his name is I am, Aya, meaning that I exist. That's what Aya means. I exist as I exist, who I exist. So he's letting you know I'm going to be and I will be and I am and will be what and who I am and what I will be. So there is no changing. It is what it is. Okay. And added, here is what to say to the people of Israel. And this word people here is really sons of Israel. Aya has sent me to you. Okay. This is not his name. And here is proof of that. God said further to Moshe, say this to the people of Israel, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. They have here Adonai, which that is not his name. His name is not Adonai. The translators had changed his name from Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, which you have right here, okay, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, and they put Adonai instead because they said his name was too holy to be able to pronounce. And so they put his name here as Adonai. In your Bibles, depending on the translation you have, is going to be Lord, Lord, all capital, okay? Adonai means master of masters. That's what that word means, because in the first part of that word, Adonai is Adon, and Adon means to be a master or to be a Lord. and I means of many. Okay. So I'm the master of masters, right? That's what they have here as his name, Adonai. But that is not his name. His name is Yohewah. They have here a Vav, but again, David's turn is Jewish. So they changed the W in Yahweh's name, okay, or the sound of the W to a V sound. So it's Yohewah. And it's not Yohewah, it's Yohewah. That should be a W. Yohewah, which is a Y, H, and this should be a W, H. And I'll show that to you in the original Hebrew scriptures. It says the God, because that's the question they're asking you, the God, the power of your fathers. I'm the Elohim of your fathers. I'm Yohewah, right? That's his name. He says, I'm the power of Abraham. I'm the God of Abraham. I'm the God of Yitzchak. I'm the God of Yaakov, has sent me to you. Then he says, to clarify, this is my name forever. So what is his name forever? His name is Yohewah. His name right here in brackets, Adonai, is not his name. Okay. And so some people have a pronunciation to call him Yahweh. That's where you get the name Yahweh, or you might get the name Yehovah or Yahuwah or Yahweh, right? I call him Yahweh because of the vowels, Yod, Wah, and Hey, Yod, Hey, Wah, Hey. So Yahweh. Okay. And it says that he says, this is my name. Okay. Now remember, the book is the book of Exodus, and Exodus in Hebrew is called Shemot, and Shemot has to do with name. So now he's revealing his name for the first time to the children of Israel, because children of Israel is going to ask. He says, Moses said, when you sent, I've sent you to the people and worship God. He says in 13, when the people appear before the people and they say to them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, they will ask, what is his name? His name, he said, this is my name. His name is Yohewah. Okay. That why is this important? Well, it's important because if you don't know this name, then you're not going to know the God, the power, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, which is Isaac, or Jacob, Yaakov. That's the God of your fathers. Okay. So he said, this is my name forever. Okay. This is how I am to be remembered. Okay. He's not being remembered called Eye Asher Eye. He's not being remembered. He is to be remembered from generation to generation for this name, Yohewah. Okay. And so then he says, go and gather the leaders of Israel together and say to them, they got here Adonai. In Hebrew, it's going to say Yohewah. See, so this is what they're doing. So this is to get you off of the scent, to direct you to the God of your fathers. If you don't know this Yohewah, not Adonai, then you're going to have a problem, because then you're not going to know what he is saying to you. Okay. Then someone else is going to come and say some other stuff. Okay. So all the places where you see the word Adonai is Yohewah. Tell them that Yahweh, the Elohim of the Hebrews, he's the Elohim of the Hebrews, not the Lord, not God, not Adonai. The Elohim of the Hebrews is Yohewah, Yahweh, or Yahuwah, or Yahweh, okay, or Yahweh. So then he says, he's the God of the Hebrews, he has met with us. Now, please let us go 3 days journey into the desert so we can sacrifice not to Adonai, our Elohim, but to sacrifice to Yahweh. Okay. So that's important for you to know and understand. So now that we have the understanding. So Akika, why is this important? Because you're talking about why they were in their slavery. When the Most High decided to come back and reveal himself to the children of Israel, he's going to reveal himself to us while we're in our slavery. Okay. And the way that he's going to do this is through the man that he sent and had it said that his prophet. And he says, Moshe said to Elohim, look, when I appear before the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your ancestors sent me, you're going to ask you, what is his name? You understand? So while they're in their slavery, they're getting the name of Yahweh, Yohe-Wahe, from Moses or Moshe. Because that's who the Most High sent to give them the information. In context, the Most High has used Moses. I'll use Moses just for English. He's used Moses to tell the people of Israel what his name is while they're in their slavery. Now you say, well, we don't have Moses to tell us. Yes, you do. The Torah of Yahweh was given to Moshe and was written by the hand of Moshe, instructed and given to teach the people of Israel Yahweh's laws, statutes, and commandments. So you do have Moses to tell you what you need to know about Yod He Wah He, the God of your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm going to just use English as much as I possibly can so you don't get lost in the sauce. Okay. So now that we have that understood, while you're in your exile, while you are in your slavery, the Most High is going to reveal himself to you, just like he did with our ancestors. Okay. And then once you find out what his name is, then you can find out what he has done for you and our ancestors and what the expectations are from the Most High Yah. Now I'm going to go to the book of Deuteronomy. In Hebrew is called Davarim, right here. It is the fifth book in which you would call the Torah. Chapter number 4 opens up with the words, now Yisrael, you listen to the laws, the rulings I am teaching you in order to follow them so that you will live, and then you will go in and take possession of the land, the Yahweh your Elohim, the God of your fathers, not Adonai people, but Yahweh, the God of your fathers, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is giving you. So he's going to give you a land because he promised it to your ancestors. In order to obey the mitzvah, which here is the word for commandments of Yahweh, your Elohim, which I'm giving you, do not add to what I am saying and do not subtract from it. This word of adding to means that it's not doing multiplication. It means that you are adding commentary to what he has instructed. So, case in point, he tells you that you are not to eat pork and you don't supposed to even touch it. What you would say is, we can't eat it, but we can touch it because it's different, because it's been salted or it's been purified. And back in the day, back then, the pork was not clean because of the infections, diseases that was going on. He's saying, don't do that. Don't add upon what I'm saying. Don't add any additional information to what I'm telling you. Okay. When he says subtract from it, what he's talking about is the word which they would call tigra, is to diminish, to minimize what I said or what the Most High has stated. Minimizing it means that you say, yeah, but you're adding, you're subtracting, but you're adding a different vibration on it, saying, well, you know what? That was when it was then. It's not as serious as it is now. No, don't do that. Don't subtract from it. Okay. Then he goes on to talk about everything that's happened to the people, but I want to direct your attention. I don't want to read all of it because I know that you can read. Okay, so you go to Deuteronomy chapter number 4 and you can read the following information, but in order to obey, the commandments of the Most High, Yah, you and I cannot add to what he says and we can't subtract. So by the time you and I get to the covenant of the Most High, you're going to have to literally accept it word by word. Okay. And I'm going to take it out of the English and show you what it's saying. It's not what you think it is. It is not the 10 commandments. Okay. It's not 10 commandments. That is erroneous. That is false. That's wrong. It's when it says it's the 10 words, you don't understand what it means to 10 words. You're thinking it's 10 in number, like it's only 10 words. It's not 10 words. It's 10 statements about the covenant, about the agreement. Okay. So here we have now that he's telling them something that he wants to make us aware of. Okay. Because in order to do this, you can't add or subtract. One of the things that I want to draw to your attention before we get into the covenant is to understand, starting at verse number 12, how the commandment was given, how the covenant was given. He goes in chapters 4 and he tells you that, on 10 and 11, 9, 10, and 11, he begins to tell you, and I'm just going to summarize it right quick. It's not that I don't want to read it, but I just want to give you an understanding. He's telling the people that, on the day that you stood there before Yahweh, when he gathered the people, he told the people, I want you to come so you can hear my words, my very words. Okay. And the words that he wanted them to hear is the words of the covenant. Okay. The 10 words. Okay. And he says that they will learn. So hearing the words that you and I are about to hear, and then we're about to study his very words that we don't supposed to add or subtract from, you're going to learn to hold Yahweh in awe. That means they got right there in awe. It means that you will be terrified, that you'll be trembling and afraid and scared to try to adjust or to change even a letter of what he said. Okay. Unlike what we have people today that just blasé read it and don't take the time to even consider what's written there. Right. And they read it in English and they think that they understand it and they don't. So the purpose of hearing his very words is for you and I to learn how to fear Yahweh. To hold him in fear is, how long should you be afraid of Yahweh while you're living on the earth? You should be afraid of him as long as you're living on the earth. And not only you, but he wants you to teach your children too, that they can learn to hold him in awe as long as they live on the face of the earth. Okay. And it was the purpose of the fire. This was the purpose of the thunder. This was the purpose of the darkness of the clouds. This was the purpose of the voices that they saw and that they heard. You understand? Then Yahweh spoke to you out of the fire and the sound. You heard the sound of words, which goes into the teaching I taught today about Matot. You heard these words, but you saw no shape. So this is not being spoken to you by some man that has a shape. This ain't by no animal. This is by no type of shape. There was only, they call it Zulati. There was only a Zulati, which is only by itself a voice. So what you're learning to hold in awe is what Yahweh has said and spoke out of the fire, which are the 10 words, which is the proclaimed covenant, which is the agreement to you, which he had ordered you to obey. And then it tells you what those covenant words are, the 10 words, which are the 10 statements that he said to the children of Israel, that he wants you to learn so you can hold him in awe when you learn and hear these 10 words, which is only going to be by the voice of Yahweh. He wrote them on 2 stone tablets. Okay. You understand? So now that you have that, I'm going to skip down because this goes in, which I want you to read this chapter in its whole entirety to tell you when he said, as you only heard her voice, he's making reference to there is no idolatry. There is no representation of a human being that they saw. They saw nothing. They saw no birds. They saw no animals. All they heard was a voice. Going down to 23 before we get into the covenant. The reason why all this is being mentioned is so that you will watch yourselves. That word yourselves is talking about your soul. Not just your body, not just your ears, not just your eyes, not your hands, not your feet and your toes. He's telling you, I want you to watch over your souls so that you won't forget the covenant of Yahweh. Not the covenant of Adonai, the covenant of Yahweh, your Elohim, which I made with you, which he made with you. And make yourself a carved image, which is a representation that you didn't see. All you heard was a voice. Because Yahweh, your Elohim, is a consuming fire. He's a jealous God. He will destroy us. And so you read this and you'll find more information. We'll probably come back here a little bit later. Okay. I'm going to ask the host to go ahead and transfer me over now to I want to pick up, you can drop that in particular Bible verse, and I want to share another part. So let me do this right quick. Let me stop the share right here, and then I'm going to add the screen again, and now I'm going to add the book of Deuteronomy. We're going to Deuteronomy. Now we're going to use the Hebrew. Okay. So now that we pull this up,
I was just thinking about something when you finished. I don't mean to cut you off, but
no,
when you was finishing that last part, right? And when the Most High when Moses said, "Y'all didn't see nothing. Y'all didn't see no shape. Y'all ain't see no similitude. Y'all ain't see no man. Y'all just heard a voice." Just think, and this is the infinite wisdom of the Most High. To know that, from that time on till whenever, till the world end, that just think if we would have seen something, if he would have showed us his similitude or shape at this moment in 2025, brothers and sisters he probably would have been looking totally different. He probably would have been white or something like that. Probably would have had boobs. You know how men's imaginations are. We would have had the Most High looking crazy, and he ain't going for that. So I think that's one of the main reasons, because he knew, y'all don't need nothing because y'all gonna be deep in idolatry. If I give y'all something to see, like Jesus Christ, y'all see something. Y'all go change the color. Y'all go do this. Y'all go do that. And that's what people did. And I'm glad that he didn't give us no similitude. All praises.
Well, all praises, because also too, it shows the inferiority of the Most High if he was to make anything, because all things were made by him. So it's an imagination. So he's saying that you can't even fathom what he looks like. He says if any man was to stand in his presence, they would actually die.
Right.
If anyone saw him. No man has yet to see the Yah and have lived. Right? So it's imperative for us to understand these things, because who we're dealing with is the one who spoke out of the fire. That's the one that we're dealing with. Okay. And so, we're going to have to understand this. And so now we're about to get into the covenant. And I just want to touch on just a few verses, because I believe that sometimes if we try to oversaturate, it's like watering a plant too much. What would happen to the plant?
Right.
You end up drowning it. It won't grow. It's just too much water, right? Or if you fertilize too much, if you stimulate it too much, then it's going to be overstimulated, and it's not going to be able to handle that. Okay.
Right.
So I want to direct our attention now to Exodus chapter number 20. If you can enlarge the screen, I don't know if anyone could see it a little bit bigger, or that's fine. I wonder if they could see it. Can they see it, you think?
There we go.
Yeah, Cool. All right. So here it is, everyone. Now that we're in, I'm using Bible Hub as our source to look at the covenant. Okay. I want to explain a few things to you so you can understand what you're kind of going to be taught. I want to direct you. Don't know Hebrew that I know of, but there's certain elements in the scriptures that you need to know. Okay. This is what you need to know. Right. So the first thing that I want you to understand is when you look at this word, the first sentence is, and spoke, they had their God, and we're reading from right to left. Okay. And it said, and spoke God all the words of these saying. Okay. At the end of that sentence, they have this in particular, this S. It looks right here, this little S right here. This S right here in English. It's in English right there. I got it highlighted. And then here's an S right here in Hebrew. Okay. And they have it identified as a punctuation, which is not true. It's not a punctuation. Let me go back. It's not a punctuation. They're just using this word to, or, you know, the term punctuation, just so you can think that it's some type of punctuation when it's not. This S right here, this little letter right here represents something. And what it means is that in the Hebrew scrolls, the words are written, and they're written in lines, but in all of these different lines that they have, it might end with a little S like you have right here that I just took out for you. You have an S, okay? That means that I want you to pause after I said something. And what it means in the Hebrew, it means that it's going to be a space, okay? So what it's saying is, in a sentence, you might have a H right here, and then over here you have this L. The space between them is really this right here. And it's saying that I need you to pause. So after this first sentence, right, is saying pause. Pause and think about what is about to be said. Okay. So the first thing is, it says, why dober Elohim et kol hadavarim ha'ele lemor. So what he's going to do is he's going to break each and one of these sentences and phrases into different parts. And what is broken down to, the reason why it's called 10 words is because there's 10 divisions. So this little S right here just means that everything is being divided. And it's being divided so you can understand, so you can pause, and so you can meditate upon what has been said. Okay. So it's going to tell us everything the Most High said. Okay. So here, the first word that the Most High said, he said, think about what is about to be spoken to you. The first thing he says in verse number 2, this is the first words that he said. The first one he says is, I am, right here. And then he tells you his name. That's what it is. And you can see right there in English, there's a Y right here. There's a Y. There's a H. And they got the A right there, but that's a vowel. They got the H, and then you got the W, which is, that's the proper letter. There's a W, and then the last one, and then the E is a vowel, and there's a H. So the Y, H, W, H is right there. The first letter Y is this letter right here in Hebrew. The H is right here, which is the next letter next to it, which is the Hey right here. That's a Hey. That's a H in Hebrew. That represents the H in English. And this Wa right here, the letter I just highlighted right there, that letter right there is the W. It's not a V. It's a W. Okay. Make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. That letter right there is a W. That's why in the Bible Hub, they properly translated it and put the Y-A-H-W-E-A-H. But they just got the vowels differently, okay? So, and then, of course, the last letter here is a H again. So that goes back to what we learned in Exodus chapter number 3, where he says, when they ask you who sent you, you tell them that Eye Asher sent you, but then he said, this is my name is Yohei. So when he first words that he says in his covenant to the children of Israel is, I am Yahweh. That's huge. Okay. And he says, and then of course here the Eloheka is your Elohim. Up here you say this, how you can say Elohim. This is how I taught myself Hebrew, by the way. is learning how to say the words that are above it and associating the letters with the letters beneath it. So the Elohekae is all that. So the first letter, this E right here, is the Aleph right here. That's the E. And then the Lo right here is the next letter, which is the L, the Lo.
Right.
And then the Heka is the He, and then the Ka is this letter right here, right there. That's Eloheka. So Anoki Yahweh Eloheka, I am your Elohim. That's the first thing he said. That's the covenant. Okay. The next thing he said is, remember I told you the word Asher. Remember Aye Asher Aye? This word Asher was being, he says who. It's a relative pronoun, which you got right here at the bottom. A relative pronoun means that I'm going to relate to who's doing the talking. So if Yahweh has described himself and saying, I'm Yahweh your Elohim, I'm the one who. So there is no one else. Okay. It's him. Okay. And if you look at Yahweh, it's a proper noun right here. You see it? Where's it at? Right here. Underneath the word Yahweh, you will see the in proper ms. That right there is the proper noun. When it says proper, it means it is a proper name. Okay. Aye or Ashe, which I'm going to show you in a second, is not a noun. It's a verb. Okay. It's the action of the name. Yeah. So Anoki Yahweh Eloheka means I am Yahweh your Elohim who brought you out. Now they have here brought out, but they're not literally telling you how you were brought out. Okay. To be brought out is this word Tza right there. It's really called Yatse, but they got other letters on it, right? Hotse Tika, right? So Hotse Tika. So the Hotse right here, and then you have Tika. Hotse Tika right up here, right? So you got Hotse Tika. Okay. So Hotse Tika. In the Hebrew language, is going to tell you that it's not that who brought you out is the one who did something different, meaning that this verb that here that you see on the bottom is called a hifel is perfect, right?
So wouldn't that
Wouldn't
that I don't mean to interrupt you. Well, I guess I do, but wouldn't that mean wouldn't that be in the
No, we're here to learn, so you've got to ask questions.
Yeah, definitely. Wouldn't that be in the causative hipael verbs?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. You're bringing it out. So the idea is, so when we look at causative, it means that no one else is. So, for example, people think Moses brought the children of Israel out. Even the children of Israel thought Moses brought them out. Moses did not bring them out.
Mm-hmm.
The Most High used Moses to be the instrument, but Yahweh was the cause of them coming out. Yahweh caused them to come out. He said, I'm the one who has caused you. So the hifel is a causative. So this is not something they did on their own. It's something that he did.
Right.
So he's saying, I'm the one who caused you to come out. That's what he's saying. I'm the one who, when it says brought out, he's the one I caused you to come out. Okay. Why is this important? Because if you're in exile like we are, and we're like literally in our slavery because you're still a captive, he's letting you know that if you don't know me, if you don't know my name, Yohe-Wahe, and you don't know that what I did for your ancestors, your fathers, when you're in your slavery, you're going to ask who's going to send me. You're going to think it's JC the Christ, and he's not going to deliver you. There's not going to be any savior. Okay. There's only going to be Yohe-Wahe. That's the one who did what he did. And he wants you to know his name because while you're in your slavery, when you hear this name, you're going to know what he's already done. That's why he says, I will be what I need to be, and I am what I am, and I am. So he will be salvation for us if he wants to be, if he causes himself to do that. So he says, I'm the one who caused you to come out from the land of Misraim, right? From Me'eretz, Misraim, Mabeth, you're coming from the house of bondage, meaning the house of slaves. That right there, Avadim. Avadim is a house of slaves. Okay. So that's the first word of the covenant. Very simple, straightforward. Yeah, it's the one who causes us to come out. Okay. Now we're going to get into something that's going to kind of mess you up. Okay. This is why it's important for us to go over it. Verse number 3. Now, remember, in Hebrew, there are no chapters and there are no verses. So when the Most High gave the covenant, he didn't say verse number 3. He didn't say verse number 2. This is all a scroll, right? He's writing a scroll, and in the scroll, the letters are there, and all of a sudden there might be a space, and that space will be a S, or represents that S, or a P, which means I'm going to start talking about something new. Right now, he's still talking about something, and that something is him, okay? So now he says, I'm the one who brought you out. Then he says something here. It says, lo. As you can see on 3808, lo. The first word that's being mentioned in this in particular line says lo. This lo here, they got it as no in English, right? They call it a negative particle, meaning that it's negating an action. Meaning, so for something is supposed to be active and it's going to happen, the lo means it's not going to happen, okay? So what we need to understand is he says, no shall you have, or never should you have. That word lo means absolutely never. So there's certain different no's in Hebrew. One is, it's not going to happen, not now. Then this one here is a never, absolutely ever. It's not contingent upon how you feel. It's not contingent upon where you live. It doesn't mean when you get into exile, you're going to do another God. It doesn't mean that. Okay. So that first word in that in particular line says absolutely never. Now is negating, is making negative the next word, because that's why it's here. It's not separate. It is a adverb, meaning that it's a negative particle. It's part of the next thing, which is this: to exist, called yiyeh. Okay. So we're going to stop just reading. We're just going to read this part right here. The first word we read, lo. We're on the second word right here, yiyeh. Okay. And you can look it up. It's 1961 in Strong's. It's called yiyeh. But the yiyeh right there is just the word, how it's being conjugated, talking about the action of it right now. Okay. So if I click on in 1961, it's not going to say yiyeh. Okay. It's not going to say that. What it's going to say is haya. Okay. Listen to what I'm telling you. So 1961 means haya. So let's click on it. Let me click on it so I can show you that yod that they put on the front of that word is just to conjugate it, to kind of tell you who's going to be doing the action. Okay. So as I told you, it's not yiyeh, it's haya. It is a hey, a yod, and a hey. Okay. Well, what does that remind you of? It means to be, to become, to come to pass, or to exist, or to happen. Okay. So this word, haya, is found in Yahweh's name. Okay. Because remember, Yah says that, right? It says, well, what is his name? His name is Yod, Hey, and then he has a Wah, Hey, right? Instead of a Yod in the middle, it'll be a Wah, which is Yahweh. Okay. Or here it would be Hawa. Okay. So I want you to look on the bottom here. Okay. So there's a Haya. Okay. That's how you say it. Now, it means to become. Well, we read in Exodus chapter number 3, it says that I am, Eye. All they did, instead of having a Yod from Aleph in front of the word, let me show you. Right here. Okay. This is an Aleph when you look at when he said in Exodus 3. So I don't want to get too far off, but he's saying never shall he, okay? Because in Hebrew, this first letter right here means he, okay? And the he there is representative as telling you who's doing the action, okay? You look on the bottom of the word and it has the 3ms right here, 3ms. That 3ms means third person, masculine, singular. And that's represented by this letter right here. So what he's literally saying is absolutely never he. And then the word haya means to become. Okay. So who is the he? Hold on. Listen to me. Who is the he that he's talking about? Because after every verb, you got to let you know who's doing the action, because a verb is an action. That's what a V here is to call. It's an action. Who is he that can exist? Never shall he exist. And it's going to tell you who the he is. Okay. And to you, they have just here you, which is represented by this letter right here, just this last letter, which is ka right here. Ka is you in Hebrew. Okay. Possessive. Okay. The first letter la right here is this letter. Okay, come on. I just won't give it to me, huh? This first letter right here is la ka. Okay. So starting at the beginning, never shall he exist to laka. That's a staff. That first letter right there, the la, in Hebrew, that is what you call a shepherd's staff. It's called a lamed in Hebrew. Okay. That lamed is a staff that the shepherd used to hold. And the reason why they come up with these letters is because it's connected to agriculture. So each one of these letters they represent something in Hebrew. Okay. Let me see. Now that I'm on here, let me see if I can add. No, I can't. It's too bad I can't do that, because I was going to show you that this first letter is a staff. So when you're reading Hebrew, it's not just you're reading it like, you lo yiyeda lakai Elohim. That's just learning how to read. And yeah, Elohim does mean gods, and yeah, laka means to you grammatically, and yiye means he shall not exist, and lo means absolutely never. But that's just the surface of what's being said. That's just a grammar, but that's not telling you the whole story. So what he's saying to you is there shall never absolutely ever exist this individual, this he, with a staff. That means that there shall never ever be another shepherd to you. There should never be anyone who's guiding you. There should never be anyone who's teaching you. There should be no one who would ever lead you to another God. Okay. The other gods are found right here in the title called Elohim that you see right here. Okay. Lo yiyeh Elohim. Okay. Elohim right there tells you God, right? God created, but Elohim is in his plural. Okay. So it's in multiple plural. So it talks about gods. And the reason why they're calling it plural is because of this last two letters right here, im. It gives you the plurality of telling you these are gods. Okay. But the thing that you need to understand is in Hebrew, the noun has to match the actual verb. So in our sentence, it doesn't say ye yeyu. It doesn't have a u on it. So it's third person masculine singular right here on the bottom that you can see, 3ms. Whoever it is who's supposed to exist to you is going to be an individual. It's not going to be a whole bunch. Okay. We get confused because we're thinking he's talking about a whole bunch of gods. And he's not saying that. He's literally talking about this individual, this 3ms right here, that's going to exist to you. Okay. That will come from out of the Elohim. Okay. And I'll give you my case in point in a second to tell you and to show you that a lot of people don't understand. That's why we can't run through this, because you're reading it and you're thinking he's talking about a whole bunch of gods, and he's not talking about a whole bunch of gods. Because if he was talking about a whole bunch of gods, then he would be saying that they would not exist to you. And it's not saying that they won't exist to you. He's saying he will not exist to you. Third person masculine singular, which is represented by this action of this verb right here by this letter yod. That letter yod means he shall never exist to you. And then he's going to tell you Elohim because he's saying that he's a power. It just doesn't mean gods. It means power. And it's not the power only in the plurality of individual, or is a collective of different gods. He's not only saying that, he's saying that the power of powers. So never shall he exist to you, power of powers. Okay. And then he says, Acherim. So it's letting you know, it says other, which is true. But the reason why they made it a masculine plural to describe it is because in Hebrew, whatever the noun is, the grammar has to be exactly the same. And what do I mean by that? If it's Elohim in plurality, which is the yod and the mem at the end, then how you describe it has to have a yod and a mem, like you see in the next word. So it's Elohim Akerim. Okay, so that's the only reason why, because grammatical rules do not allow it to say only Eloha Akarai. It doesn't say that. It says Akerim because it's describing this particular noun. Okay, before my face. So you're never going to bring this individual right here, this Yod right here that exists, him, individual, third person masculine singular on the bottom. He will never exist to you. He shall absolutely never exist to you. And what it's talking about is one God that's coming in the future. Okay? Because here, this word akar doesn't only mean other. That is a word that's being used for grammar. It's not talking about agriculture. It's only talking about grammar. So the individuals that translated the Hebrew language into English only in their minds thought about other. That's all they thought about is other. They didn't think about what the word akar mean. They just said it's other or delay or before or any of these other things. Okay? But there's something that's inside of this word akar. Okay? And here's akar, akerim. The im is the plurality of it, which is describing the gods and the multiplicity here, because they're thinking that it has to do with gods. And what it has to do is the multiplication of power. And it's going to come from one individual, one man, okay, or one God that has all the power in the what? The Akerim. Akerim doesn't mean only other. It literally means, and I'll click on it for you, it literally means after, another, or following something, okay? Something delay, something that's going to come later. So as you can see, a car right here, okay? When I say a car, they might translate it aker, depending on how it's being conjugated, right? So now that they took the letter off of it called akarim, then they call it aker, okay? Aker and akarim, same root, same letters, which is an aleph, a chet, and a resh. Same letters. It's just conjugated. It means that it's pronounced differently because they're adding a suffix on the end of it to make it from singular to plural. So now when you look at this in particular word, he says other, which is true, or another God at another time. And it comes from the word akar right here in the bottom called delay. And often this word akar is used talking about in a time to come, like the akarit hamayim in the last days. So akar means to be delayed, okay? But this is still the Western way of thinking. This word akar in Hebrew, the primary root of this word are these two letters, which is the chet and the resh, okay? Those two letters. So English says, yeah, that's a car. That means after or following or next or stranger, another next to another woman or whatever. They have their definitions, but they're not giving you cultural context. In the Hebrew language, before it became grammar, they understood the grammar. They had to understand the culture. And because these people don't understand the culture, they're thinking it just means another or after or before or following or delay. Doesn't mean that. This first letter right here in Hebrew is called a chet. Okay, it's a CH. And basically, without going to too much detail, this letter literally means wall. A wall, like the wall to a tent, or a wall to a house, or a wall to a city, or a wall to a room, or anything. And what it means is protection. Okay. And also you can be inside the wall or you can be outside of the wall. That's why the wall is used as protection to keep people outside. The next letter is the resh, which is here what they would call the resh, which is the head. Okay. So in the ancient Hebrew, right, which, by the way, the letters that you see right here are Aramaic letters that are written. They call it Hebrew script, but they're Aramaic letters. Okay. But it still has the Hebrew meaning. So the Hebrew meaning behind the way that this letter looks is the head of a man. When you look at this, you don't see the head of a man. You know, you could try to picture it by saying the top of the letter is the top of the head, and the back, and the way it's curving is the back of the head. You can look at it that way. When you look at the cape, you could say, well, that looks like a tent in a kind of a way, like a coat. So the top thing is the roof, and the other two sides is the walls, right? And then, of course, you might not see it, but there's this aleph right here is an ox. And the ox is with these two horns that you can see, one on the top and one on the bottom. Okay. Too bad I can't notate on this. But at any rate, this word akar, aker, or whatever it is not just delay. It means outside man. Okay. And so what does the outside man have to do with being another, strange, or whatever? What it means is the man that's outside is the man that's following a certain path, right? It's a man who's outside, a man who in the culture who's always outside. And when he's outside, he's getting hot from the sun. And he's burning up. He's getting hot. This word here means that it has to do with heat, and it has to do with being hot. It has to do with the man outside. Okay. So, and also too, the word kar in Hebrew means to be angry. It means to be upset. Like the man that's outside is getting a whole, but he's getting beaten down by the sun. He's turning red hot because he's been in the sun all day. And it appears that he's angry. It's because he's hot. So when you look at those two letters right there, it means to be angry. Okay. That's what it means. Okay. So let's dig a little bit deeper. So a car, let's look at a car. One of the things that I don't like is that it doesn't give you the agricultural meanings. It just tells you the grammatic, you know, the letters and the words. So when you look at aker, it means to tarry in another and behind and after. And here it's saying later, and it's saying delayed, and it's saying to tarry and to be late and to loiter, to kind of hang around and procrastinate, right? And to be slack or to tarry. Well, what the Most High is literally saying is when they're using this word acher, meaning to the akarit hamayim, to be in the last days. And what he's talking about is when the heat and the passion of and the delay of Yah is, the longer he waits, the more angry he gets. So when you look at the word in your covenant, that's talking about another God, he's talking about the one that's going to raise up in another time, the one who's delayed, the one who's going to try to become a God to you, the one that in the last days, the one who's going to cause Yahweh's anger. That's the one he's talking about. Okay, the one who's coming to you in the future, because it's another, and the only time, and the one that showed up later. That's why he's telling you that I'm your Elohim, I'm Yahweh, because there's going to be. That's why he's saying that this other one, don't let ever, absolutely never, lo ye, never shall he exist, never shall he become to you, to Lekah, an Elohim Akadrim, another Elohim, meaning someone who's coming later. This individual person. And you're never supposed to take that individual person and bring them before Yahweh's face. That word panai is Yahweh's faces. Okay. It's just not me. It's talking about his face. Okay. So we click on it right quick. It's not going to say me. That's grammatical. He's talking about your face, your panim. It's a plural noun. As you can see right here. Panim. Right here. Panim. And it comes from the pa. Right here, pan. And then you look at the im right here. Let me see. Click off of it. Im. That im right there, the yod and the mem, that's plurality. Okay. That's what that is. So he's saying you should never come before his faces. Okay. His countenance. You should never bring them before my faces. It says face here, but we know that its faces is because it's im. Because face by itself is panim. Panim is faces. Okay. So he says panim. Panai means faces. So you ask yourself, well, how many faces do the Most High have? Right? And the answer to that is that the Most High doesn't have a face because no man has ever seen the Most High. So he doesn't have a face. What he's talking about when you look at someone's face, he's given this as a metaphoric, or a anthropomorphic understanding. Like, I'll tell you something so you can understand it. When he talks about his faces, he's literally saying that, for example, when you look at the face of a man, you have different type of expressions. You have a face of happiness. You have a face of anger. You have a face of frustration. You have a face of concern. You have a face of being hot. You have a face of cold. You have a face of worry. You have a face of victory. It's all these different faces that you have. So he's using the anthropomorphic understanding of human thought to help human ideas to help us understand what he's saying. He's saying, do not bring anybody before my face, my faces. In any, meaning the face is also used to turn. So if I turn one direction, I don't want to see this guy. I don't want to see him, third person masculine singular. To you, I don't want to see this individual that's going to come later and afterwards. Don't bring anybody in front of my faces. Anywhere the Most High turns, east, west, north, or south, up or down, around, do not bring them upon me. Do not bring that to me. Do not set anything before me. An individual. You understand? So that is, never shall exist unto you an Elohim, Akarim, before me. So there's a lot more meaning there than what we have been told. Okay. So as you can clearly see, it's not going to be just you read through this and think that you understand it. You have to go and you have to do the research, and you have to know what the cultural significance is, and you have to know how to navigate through this. If you don't, then you're going to have a misunderstanding, or you're not going to get the proper understanding. You might have somewhat of an idea, but you really don't understand what he's really saying. That can literally save your life, because he's not talking about a whole bunch of gods. He's literally talking about one. And this is the reason why he gave us the covenant, because he's warning them, which I told you last week that he's warning us. Because when he came to reveal himself to us while we're in our slavery, I need to tell you what it is so you can remember that I am Yahweh, Anoki Yahweh Eleheka. I shared the Hotzi Tikada, may I read to the Mitzrayim of Beth of Avadim. Everyone, I memorized this whole entire covenant. I know all the words of the covenant. I know them all by heart. I say them every single day of my life. Every morning I say them. It's a reminder to me not to forget who he is. Because if you forget who he is, then you're going to forget what he said. And then someone's going to come and try to change what he said. And then they're going to be a God to you, because they're giving you words. Okay. I want to, brother, you have any questions before we proceed to the next word of the statement of the 10 words?
Yeah, you're right, brother. When you don't do proper study and proper research on this subject matter, the understanding will be definitely diluted. And just for what we did with the first word, it was so many layers that we had to peel back just to get a good understanding of what was being said. And some of the things you said was like, wow, I never looked at it like that. But I do know that when saying the 10 Commandments in the language, it hits a lot different. It sounds different, and it hits your ruach differently too, you know. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. So
absolutely, that's wonderful. So this is what we're understanding, right? And this is what we should know, because we've been misguided and we don't know. And these are the words that the Most High is going to hold us responsible for. This is what the children of Israel, this is the covenant that they broke with him. This is what they ultimately did in every instance and every time in every part of the land, and they're still doing it today. And these are going to be the very words that he's going to speak to us when he gathers us back to the wilderness and speaks to us again face to face. These are going to be the words that are going to be downloaded into your mind. Okay. And those who don't know these words are going to have difficulty being able to hear the Most High. Remember, he said that who of all the people have ever heard the Most High speaking out of the mountain, out of fire, as you haven't stayed alive? That's a clue. That's messaging. That's telling you why did he have to say that? Because he's letting them know that whoever was to hear these words wouldn't live. So why are you living? Why are you alive when no man has ever heard the voice of the living Elohim and stayed alive as you have and stayed alive? No one has. So the words that we're reading are the words that will be able to keep us alive. You understand? If you know these words, okay? Now let's deal with this next line here, okay? Which you would have is verse number 4 in the Hebrew and in English, and try to get us more of an understanding of what it is that he's saying, okay? So off the cuff, it says lo ta'aseh. So again, that word lo literally means absolutely never shall you. The next word is you, ta'aseh. You shall never make, and meaning that you should never fashion. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see it right here. Okay. So the lo is never absolutely. So you don't have an option. This letter here, the T right here, the ta, means that you shall never, you, individual. As you can see right here on the bottom, 2MS, I'm talking to you. Okay. This is important for us to understand. This is huge because we would like to think, and I want you to hear me. Okay. If you notice so far, he says, I'm your Eloheka. He says that ka is yours, or he says, never shall exist to laka, to yiye, to laka, to you. Again, here's another laka. So this means that he's talking to the individual. He's not talking to a group. He's talking to you. So there was individuals standing there, right? And there's a group of people in all the tribes and the women and all this kind of stuff. But it's for the heart of the individual. It's not for the heart collectively like it's a group project. He might be talking to the whole group, but this is supposed to resonate with you as an individual. This is something that you have to do. This is something that you should never do. You should never ta'aseh. So he's not saying just as a nation. He's talking to you as an individual. You. Okay? You should never do this. Never shall exist to you, and you making to you to laka. Just like no Elohim shall be ever to you, individual. Nothing you shall make for you a carved image of fasel, and they would call it tumunah. So this is not in this all call of a tumunah. That means any or every anything. Anything. It's not just any, it's everything. And he tells you a tumunah is an image or a likeness. Okay? Tumunah, right here, a likeness. So you have the idea between carved images, which could be made with the hands, and a likeness in which you would get this likeness, which they would call a representation from anything in which, again, that asher, that was in the Bashamayim. Nothing should be made. I think you brought that out earlier, talking about, well, he didn't want us to have these images because anything that's in the heavens or any above, I don't want it from the Mima all. I don't want nothing from above in the heavens. Right. So what is he really telling us? He's directing us to what we see. And this is the reason why in chapter number 4, Deuteronomy, he says, you didn't see anything. So our eyes are playing a pivotal role in our relationship with the Most High. So now you know why he's giving you eyes, and he's giving you eyes to see. Now I'm from the understanding that the Most High wants you to see things because that's how he did. He wanted them to see the fire. He wanted them to see the thunder. He wanted them to see him destroy the armies. He wanted them to see that he divided the Red Sea. He wanted them to see that he stopped the Jordan River and stopped it from flowing. He wanted them to see the manna. He wanted them to see the quails. He wanted them to see the signs and the wonders. They wanted them to see what happened to Pharaoh and his army what happened to the land of Mizraim. He wanted them to see. So it's not about a belief system with the Most High. It's literally about seeing. Your eyes play a very vital role in your relationship. So you have to guard your eyes against these things. And you also, if you're guarding your eyes, you're guarding your mind, because your mind is what's going to give you, and what you see can reflect in your personality. And then you would begin to think that the Most High is a tree because of how fruitful it is. You know, some people worship the pomegranate because of how fruitful it is. Some people worship the bunny rabbit, the rabbit or the hare, because it's so prolific. It has so many, it could be blessed. It has so many children, you know, like the Catholic Church. Some people worship the stars because it's the multiplicity and the light of them, and the grandeur and the majesty of the heavens. That's why they worship it. They're caught in the awe of it, and they're inspired by it. They're inspired by a big ball of fire that's in the sky, that's traveling on its own course on the beginning of the day and the end of the day. And if that big ball of fire didn't come, then things wouldn't grow and you wouldn't see anything. So they worship that. They worship the moon, like some religions. You know, Christianity is in the sun worship, and the Muslim world is into worshiping the moon and the stars, because they believe that, you know, the moon can move the tides of the ocean. So all of a sudden now there must be, you know, she must be a power. She must be a god, the moon god. You know, going down to how we worship on Monday. Some people call it Monday, or it's really called Moon Day, or Sunday, which is the worship of the sun on that in particular day. So he's saying here that, listen, all the things that have been made, directing your attention to anything that's in the heavens, anything on the earth, beneath the earth, or anything why I shared the Bamayin and Mitzakath, anything underneath the earth, on the La'aretz, meaning anything under the earth, right? So he's directing us towards all in which he has made. And so if you find any kind of hole, or you try to take anything that he's made, you're saying that it is superior to him, the very thing that he made, whether it be a man, a woman, a child, a star, a bird, a fish, anything that has been made, a flower, a donkey, an ox, a sheep, a goat, a lion, an eagle, whatever it is, you're saying, and those things have cycles, and those things don't live forever. The Most High is the one who liveth forever. So when he says that I am, he says I exist. And by virtue of us saying that we're going to worship something that has been made, it would never came into existence outside of him. And it means that it has this power of its own, and it exists based on its own merit, and it exists based on its own power. And this is what we have a problem, because the Most High is the power of powers. He is the power of the sun, the power of the moon, the power of the stars, the power of vegetation, the power of the strength that comes from the earth to give vegetables and fruits. Yah is the one who gives the power to change the seasons. He's the power of the ability to have childbirth, the power to bring forth animals and offspring, the power of the fish and the multiplicity, the power of the traveling of the salmon and his seasons. It is Yahweh's power. And so he does not share his power or his glory with anyone else or anything else, especially the things that he has made. Known in our Bibles as verse number 5, lo. So if you see, there's a consistent absolutely never that we see at every beginning of every conversation that he's having. And he's saying, lo tishtakaway. That tishtakaway means that I don't want you to bow down, prostrate yourself down to the ground to lahem, to anything that he just mentioned. The lahem right here is to them, but the lamed, again, is, they use it grammatically, mean to, but it means a shepherd's staff. That means to be guided. That means to walk, because you walk with a shepherd's staff. So you should not be walking on the earth, underneath the heavens, with the idea that everything that's around you has any power except for the one who gave it his power. You should not be guided and led to do those things. Now, this worshiping here is something important for us, because it's not something that anyone is going to cause you to do yourself. Okay? You're going to do it upon yourself. No one's going to cause this on you except for you. That's what's called a hitpael. Hitpael. Okay. The pael part of it right here. Let me see. Let me just highlight it right quick. The word hitpael The HIT is literally saying that it's a reflexive action, meaning it's something that you got to do to yourself. So if anybody's going to cause you to worship, it's going to be you. That's why the first letter in there is the Tav, which is T, which is Tish Takawu or Tish Takawe, meaning that you're the one who's going to do this. So worship for us is not mandatory. Worship for us is not something that anyone else can cause you to do. Worship for us means that it's voluntary, that you get to choose. And if you look there in the grammar, it's 2ms, which is the second person masculine singular, which has been consistent so far in everything that the Most High said, talking to you, the individual. Regardless to everyone else bowing down worship, like you have in Daniel and, the 3 Hebrew boys who they didn't bow down. They made a decision. They made a choice not to bow down. So that means that this is not something that's forced. This is something that's voluntary. This is something that you can cause yourself to do, no one else. When I say cause, I mean a reflexive action is for you to comb your hair. No one caused you to do it. You did it on yourself. When you eat something, you're feeding yourself. You fed yourself. No one fed you. You fed yourself. You ate. You caused yourself to eat. You bathed yourself. You caused yourself to bathe. No one caused you, but no one bathed you. You did it yourself. So here he's saying, never shall you cause yourself to bow down. This is an action that you do upon yourself. You're not going to do this. Never. To Lahim. Okay? Never to them. And he says, and walo, and again, I never, ever, absolutely ever. Wa means a continuation of what I just said, which is this letter right here. The W that they have right here. Wa. Right here. Wa. It's right here. Wa. See that wa? That wa right here is this right here. Wa. Wa. Why does it keep highlighting everything? I just want that. Come on. Wa. Right there. That's that walo. So walo. So you are never going to walo. Okay, ever, never. And then, of course, again, is you to Avadaim. You are never going to serve them. The Avad means to be a servant to them. You might ask yourself the question, well, how would I be a servant? To be a service or to be a slave to them is to listen to whatever idea or story that surrounds them. Because the Most High knows that every idol, and listen to me carefully, every idol has a story behind the idolatry. Every image has a story behind the image. So if you have a woman sitting with a baby, they're going to put a story on it. It's called Mary and a Small Child, the virgin birth. They're going to put a story with it. If you have a picture of a man with a sun hollow over his head, they're going to give you a story behind it. If you have a man who has no clothes on, but he has wings on the side of his head, there is a story. If you have a man that's running around naked with a hammer in his hand, there's a story that goes along with that. So there's always a fable, there's always a story, there's always a narrative that's going to be made up. So the service to that is saying that I'm dedicated, I'm going to listen to that story. Because with that story comes rules and some regulations, and it actually gives you some freedoms and some do's and some don'ts, and what it is that in particular story represents. So service to the Most High is not just in the idea of physical, but it's talking literally about one's soul. That means that you have gravitated towards them. What they have said or what have been stated about them grabs your attention. It's like something glittery in front of your eyes. If you like the swordfish, that's your favorite fish, or you like the Indians, you love to worship the cow or the rat, then you'll find what you find and you like this character, you'll build an image, and then you'll end up being part of that in particular story, in that narrative. You love the story, okay? And when you're going and you're listening to that, you're no longer in service to the Most High. Being a slave means that, or a servant means that they have mastered you. So the question is not whether or not you're serving them. The question is are they now your master? A master is the one that you go to to seek counsel and to find out how do you deal with certain situations, because that's what a master does. That's what an Adon is. An Adon is in English a Lord, but in Hebrew it's called an Adon, or Adoni, like Sarah called Abraham her Lord, or really her Adoni, meaning you are my master. You're the one who's supposed to resolve quarrels and contention in the household. So you're the person I go to get answers and to resolve conflict. So when we are in service to someone else, that means that someone else or something else is our master. So now you have another master. Now you have someone that you depend on. Now you have someone that you go to. Now you have someone else that you're looking towards for your help. And that's where the problem is. Okay. And the reason why this is a huge problem, we'll stop, and this is the last verse that we'll cover because it's pretty intense. We're still in verse number 5. It says, for Ki Anoki Yahweh Eleheka. Okay. It says, for I am Yahweh. Again, he tells you who I am, Anoki. Anoki Yahweh. Not Anoki Yiye, I'm Anoki Yahweh. I am. That's what Anoki means. I am Yahweh. The first verse, or the first thing he said in the covenant is that I am Yahweh. He's reminding them again, which his name is furnished throughout the whole entire 10 words. He's reminding them that you are now, I'm your master. I'm your power. You don't receive power from no one else. You don't receive provision from no one else. I'm the one you're in a relationship with, because his name means he exists, which is the Yod, the Hey, the Wad, the Hey. Okay, this first part here is he, which is masculine singular, right here on the bottom that you see. It's a proper name, but it's masculine singular. So Yahweh is not plural. Okay, when he says he calls you the Eloheka, and you say God is a plurality, he's talking about his powers. He's the power of powers. I'm your powers. I'm your power, individual, right? So the root of Yah's name are these two letters right here, a hey and a hey. Unlike the word Yiye has a yod, this one has a hey in the middle. But they're from the same family, means to exist. Hawa right here, Hawa right here means to exist. HWH means Hawa. Hawa means to exist. Okay, like Haya, Hawa. Remember? Haya, Hawa. So they both exactly the same. They're from the same family of letters. But here, the Yod in front says that he exists. I am the one, I'm the one who exists. So anyone else or anything else has its existence because of me. So don't put anybody before my face as if there's someone else who exists. That's what he's literally telling us. Okay. And he says, or telling you, because he's talking to Ka. Okay. He says he's the El. He's El. Okay. We look at that, and in English it'd be EL that you see above it in 410. You say, okay, his name is El. Okay. And it's in a noun, it's masculine singular. Okay. That is the masculine singular of who he says he is. He said, and they have here, I am God. What this is literally saying is not that I am God. What he's saying is I'm the strength of the staff. That first letter right there has to do with the ox in the ancient culture, the Hebrew culture. Okay. The thing on the top and thing on the bottom, those two little horns, that's the ox horns. Okay. I am the strong. I'm Anoki Yahweh. I am the strong, because that's what an ox is. It's the strength. And the staff, again, is the leadership or authority or the yoke. I'm the strong ox. I'm the strong leader. That's what he's saying. I'm your strong leader. Anoki Yahweh Eleheka, El Kona. I'm your strong leader. I am jealous. Says like he's a bird. Kona means to be jealous or to possess. So if Yah has you and he chose you to be his people, and he said, I'm your Elohim, he's jealous for you. Okay, so he doesn't share your admiration. He doesn't share, and I say yours because he's talking to you. He's not sharing your admiration. He's not sharing your resources. He's not sharing anything with anybody. Once we're dedicated to him, he says, I'm jealous for you because you belong to me. And not only is he jealous, but he says that I'm visiting. This is huge because the word is called poked. Okay, poked, P-O-Q-E-D, which is really, sometimes they pronounce it as a K sound, but it's really Quaid, but it's Pokade. And the O sound that you have right there, that O that you see, that Po, that O right there is a participle. Okay. And a participle is literally saying that I am the ing. Let me pull it right here. I'm the ing. That ing means that it's actively happening. So he's not saying I'm going to visit, past tense. He's not saying will visit, meaning future tense. He's literally saying I'm jealous all the time. And he's saying because of this jealousy that I have, I'm visiting. Okay. And that means, well, what do you mean by visit? Are you going to come on the door and, bring us a basket? Are you going to come and hang out with us? What are you talking about visiting? The word Pokade in his present, because it's a present tense verb. It's a verb. It's an action. He's literally saying that I'm overseeing, because that's what a Pokade is. It's to oversee. If you look at it right quick, Pakad means to be an overseer, mean to appoint, right? Okay. And so here it is. When he talks about, you can look at all the definitions for Pakad, which comes from Pokade, right? And it says, or Pokade comes from Pakad. Okay. So let's stop right here. And next week, we're going to continue. And, it's a lot of information, but I just wanted to share it with you. And we'll continue next week. All right. I know that's a lot, but this is what it is.
Man,
and that's what we need to go over.
This was beautiful. Y'all should have been in here earlier when he started first breaking it down to all those that were in here, man. He really gave a good lesson. I'm eager and anxious to hear the next part. Just how you approached, instead of taking us straight into the scripture, you approached it at a different angle and, let us know why he said these things and when it was said and who it was said to. That was beautiful too, when you brought that out, who it was said to. So all praise to the Most High, man. It's been a beautiful build, and I hope y'all was edified from it. I hope that y'all took something from it, because we're going to keep on doing it until we done with it. Like he said, it's a lot of information. I'm looking at the slides that he got. He had another hour worth of information for y'all. So all praise, man. It's the boy Abia on your Spit Your Truth podcast, and this is the brother Moray Akika on the Shabbat, the Sabbath talk. Yeah, I'm getting better, bro. I'm getting better. And on the Sabbath talk, and this is the Covenant edition. The Covenant edition. We wrapping up on that covenant, y'all. We letting people know, and we showing, we bring it to light. So all praise to the Most High. We thank y'all for tuning in. Tune back in next week. We're gonna start on time. It was my fault, y'all. I had a lot of technical difficulties as usual, but we got it on here. We got in, and all praise to the Most High. So come back next week, man, and enjoy. Anything you want to say, bro?
No, I just want to thank the Most High for the opportunity to share his words with his people. And I want to thank him for giving us this platform and you as our host. And I'm looking forward to doing more lessons and helping our people understand the importance of knowing the Most High and listening to what he says.
All praises.
All praises to you. Shabbat shalom to all of you.
Shabbat shalom. And I'm glad that we had it. And I hope that y'all been edified. So we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Shalom.
Much for me, so until you we got that Torah glow. Body, my Elohim is Torah glow. We got that Torah glow. My Torah glow shines bright like a candlelight. El Shaddai over everything, yeah, that's on my life. Seeing through dirty water like Visine clear my